One of the things I found when I was researching is that they think that if you're eating the typical, they call it the SAD diet, don't they, the standard American diet, probably would take you up to 72 hours of fasting for autophagy to actually start working. If you're eating a good, healthy diet, you can get into it within about 16 hours. So
Yeah.
the food you're eating actually affects your ability to be able to do that.
It really is putting your body through that kind of primal sort of state where it's forcing itself to get energy from other sources, and that just leads to a lot of health benefits further down the line. And we talked about regeneration. That's regeneration of your skin, your nails, your hair. It just improves the quality and the longevity of your general outlook and your appearance.
One of the things that you mentioned there is critical thinking. You should question everything, no matter what someone tells you, whether it agrees with your bias or whether it doesn't. Always question it. And as we said before, that's going to help you to improve. If you want to improve yourself, you should be always questioning everything. Am I right in this opinion? Can I do more here? Would I be better doing that instead of this? It's just a constant journey, isn't it, really? You never stop.
Absolutely. Many people struggle with is they don't want that responsibility.
So, hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Health Wealth. We're here for another week, and I'm, of course, joined again by Barry. How have you been so far since we last spoke?
Hey Ryan, great to see you again. Really happy to be back on, and yeah, very much looking forward to the conversation. Things have been good. Continued to work on my course and document that, put that together. Obviously, we've done some good content regarding the last podcast, and I've been putting together some content for my video, which is going to be included as part of my landing page. So and obviously working out and keeping active, keeping disciplined as well. So that's very important, and just trying to maintain the standards.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way to do it. Keep them busy. Right. So this week I wanted to kind of pick up on a couple of things we kind of touched on last week and spoke about a little bit, but didn't get into too much detail. So one of the things is, which I do, and I know you do too, you mentioned it, is intermittent fasting. So there's tons and tons of benefits around that. So I thought we'd just speak a bit more on that. So what's your kind of views on it, and also your kind of routine with it?
Yeah, so obviously that we spoke about that last week. It's something that I've done. I started the last year or two, and started off very slowly with trying to eliminate breakfast, which was the first thing, and then just gradually pushed it further and further, my eating window further along in the day, so that I was eating later and later and condensing it into a smaller time scale. So that took a lot of time and discipline and work on my mindset. So and accountability as well. That's very important. So, but I had very good advice around me, and with a few people who were doing the same in my circle, who were doing the same. And now I'm at a really good level now where it's about 5 days a week. I'm pushing that 20-hour mark, and fully adapted now. So that's something that's been of great benefit to me in terms of my energy levels, my overall health and well-being, and also the amount of time that it frees up to. That you just realise it's something that you can just not have to think about until later on in the day. Coffee, black coffee, and sparkling water will suffice absolutely fine. So that's been a really positive change for me, and obviously we can get on to the sort of things that the foods that I've narrowed down into now. There's a more narrow range of foods that I focus on, and things that I make. So we can talk a bit about that, but obviously the overall benefits are huge. We know that fasting cleans out a lot of old damaged cells in your body and helps to regenerate new ones, which is fantastic. And it forces the body to burn existing fat stores and use that for energy as well. And instead of having to process food that you're constantly, giving it throughout the day, and it forces it to, create its own sugar for using that for energy, as well as the existing fat stores which everybody has, and increases daily energy. It improves your cognitive ability, your mental energy, which leads to better overall health. It allows the body's able to do restorative and regeneration work on your cells, as I mentioned, and muscle tissue too. So it does all these jobs while you're in a fasted state, so to speak. So it really is putting your body through that kind of primal sort of state, where it's forcing itself to get energy from other sources, and that just leads to a lot of health benefits further down the line. And we talked about, I've just mentioned, regeneration. That's regeneration of your skin, your nails, your hair. It just improves the quality and the longevity of those, of your general outlook and your appearance. And there's also some research to show that it slows down the aging process too. So from what I've read, is that people who fast consistently tend to age better also, which is great. I think that's a benefit that everybody would love to have. So yeah, these are some of the things that I found fasting, and from experience as well, that fasting brings. And yeah, for me, that is the way to go. I'm sure that you've started looking at that as well, and experiencing that yourself.
I spent a bit of time looking into it. That's kind of how I eat now, is just a lot of times during the week I'll just eat once a day. So I think they call it OMAD, one meal a day. So
Yeah.
I'll eat, like at dinner time, I'll just eat a load of food, and then not eat. On the weekends, I'll probably have like a 16-hour window of not eating. So I'll probably, on the weekends where I've got more time, I'll eat lunch and dinner, but then not between. So still hit about 16 hours with that. But
And
yeah,
I
the
think that
benefits are crazy. There's, like you said, there's anti-aging. It improves your body's detoxifying itself. It improves your immunity. It improves the quality of all of your cells and your tissue in your body, because your body basically recycles itself during that time when you're not eating, and it just cleans out all the bad stuff, reuses it, gets rid of anything it doesn't need, and just builds new, which gives it much better quality. So it's like the benefits are crazy. It's something, like you say, that people don't really think about, because we're kind of what do you say, conditioned to eat 3 meals a day and have snacks and whatever. People aren't used to it. But they say, you go back in time to early humans, they could have to go a couple of days without food in between hunts and catching stuff. So our body is perfectly set up to deal with that, to go without food, and it's actually very beneficial. Some of the things I actually found when researching was things like cardiovascular disease. So where you get it mainly is from a buildup of plaque in your arteries, which people try and say is down to having fats and meats, which we know is not true. But what it actually is just, it's just a buildup of bad cells that haven't been cleared out. So if you put yourself into autophagy regularly, then you're not going to get that buildup. and your arteries are going to be nice and clean. And the same with cancer. Cancer growth is just bad tissue being built upon bad tissue. And if you allow your body to have that time to regenerate itself and clear out the bad tissue, then you should, remove that growth. So yeah, I think it's benefits almost know no bounds. There's probably benefits we don't even know about yet from it. So yeah, I think it's definitely something I would advise everyone to add into their diet. I don't know. I'm sure that your view is pretty much the same on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're spot on there. There's a lot of the science there that backs that up. Exactly what you've said. In terms of especially the inflammation. Having an inflammatory diet. It just destroys the gut and causes digestive issues. Leads to weight gain, which can lead to diabetes, increases your chances of cancers, heart disease, spikes at glucose levels. So that's what an inflammatory diet brings, and the intermittent fasting is the antithesis of that, providing you're eating the right foods in that fasting window. So the intermittent fasting will that will provide the antidote to these issues, as if you will. So and it's definitely about cleaning out the old damaged cells, as you say, regenerating new healthy ones. That's something that the intermittent fasting does very well. So for me, it's been the best lifestyle choice, and it's also something that apply for my mindset, my discipline. It's very much part of that day-to-day sort of discipline that I have. Make sure that I get my work done, workouts, daily tasks, be productive, make progress, and then at that point, I'm able to reward myself with food. So I think that's another way to look at it too. But yeah, in terms of the science you've mentioned, it's that's spot on. So inflammation's it's a terrible thing, and allowing the body to clear out the gut and a lot of the damaged cells will just reset everything, and it's not easy for people who are starting out, because they'll feel like eating, they'll feel that pain or that, lightheadedness, and they'll feel sick, but that's just natural. That's just a natural process of the body clearing everything out. And if you're willing to go through that and get to the other side, then and reset, then you'll feel huge benefits. And obviously, if you are carrying a lot of weight, that will start to come down quite quickly. So yeah, it's definitely a fantastic lifestyle choice from my perspective. Yeah.
Like you said, with the getting used to it, like at first, like you say, it might be kind of hard for people to do that, because they're gonna think that they feel hungry, but half of the time you're not actually that hungry. Your brain's telling you you're hungry. Sometimes it's boredom, sometimes you're thirsty. So one of the best things and easiest things to help you deal with it is to be busy. If you're busy, like if I'm, like say on the weekends, I'll normally eat lunch and dinner, because I've got the time to get a bit more food in. Also, I'm not doing as much, and I'll feel more hungry when I'm at work in the week. I know I'm just going to get to work, get the work done as much as I can, and then when I go home, I'll eat. But because I'm busy during the day, I don't really feel hungry. So that's an easy way to deal with it. And one of the other things you just mentioned there, which is interesting, was about, you said about it, you need to eat the right quality foods as well. And one of the things I found when I was researching is that they think that if you're eating the typical, they call it the SAD diet, don't they? The standard American diet, which is very fitting. If you're on kind of that, it probably would take you up to 72 hours of fasting for autophagy to actually start working. Whereas if you're eating a good, healthy diet and you're already maybe doing intermittent fasting, you can get into it within about 16 hours, 14, 16 hours, they reckon. So the
Yeah.
food you're eating actually affects your ability to be able to do that and to put your body into autophagy as well. So people need to bear that in mind. It's just if you're eating a terrible diet, doing intermittent fasting will probably not have any benefit for you if you're having a terrible diet. You need to change your actual diet as well. And another interesting thing I found, which especially with you being a specialist in exercise and fitness, you probably have some input on this too, is that the other way, other than fasting, to make autophagy happen is with high interval intensity training, with HIIT training, where you kind of push your body up and then down. And so the best way to merge them both together is if you did training like that while fasted, and that actually kind of super boosts it. So I don't know, do you apply that to your training?
Yes, high interval intensity training. Yeah, that's something that I'm incorporating. That's makes up the that's one of the main components of the exercise that I specialise in, and the centres around the course that and the programs that I'm building as well. So you're working your overloading and working your high intensity for a certain period of time, working all the muscle groups, which obviously burns fat and helps you work up a sweat as well. So doing that in a fasted state and remaining fasted for a period after that is just super good for you. It's so many benefits that come with that, and that's something that I do on a try and do on a daily basis. Normally, what I try to do is my circuit or my program in the morning, and stay fasted through the day and work out and again and about the early evening, and then break the fast and start to eat after that. So not only am I doing a lot of high intensity training, but uh, early on in the day, which is beneficial in itself, but also staying fasted after that. And that's obviously that's something that takes a lot of discipline and willpower, but I'm fully adapted to that now and feeling great. So yeah, the high intensity interval training, something that I'm doing with incorporating into my body weight workouts. So we can also talk a little bit more about that. But yeah, that's hugely beneficial.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It's just, finding out the ways that the body actually works and the processes, which, the majority of people don't really understand. And from mainstream information, you wouldn't understand it either, what you're taught, what you're taught at school, or just what the mainstream idea is. So it's just like when I was looking into it, I watched a couple talks on it, and they were talking about it's just finding balance in the body with the autophagy and intermittent fasting, that your body needs to break down the same amount it needs to grow. People just think about trying to grow and grow, but you need to break
Yeah.
down stuff and then grow. You need to like make a clean slate to start from. If you're building bad stuff on top of bad stuff, then it's just nothing's going to be of very high quality. I think that one of the examples they used was actually in bones, that if you your body needs to break down inside of the bones to then rebuild better. But there was a drug, I don't remember the name of it, but there was a drug they gave to people which actually prevented that. And what it did was then it would build on top of the bone. So in a scan, it would look like it was good, but inside the bone, it was an absolute mess and it was brittle, and they would break their bones. So we have to give time for our body to reset itself, break stuff down before we then add and grow. And obviously that's difficult for people to understand at first, because it's the opposite of what we're told, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we are told a lot of things that aren't actually conducive to a healthy lifestyle, definitely. And things like bones, having strong bones and bone growth, and structure. That's very important, and ties into what I'm doing, what I'm putting out there, and what I'm building for to help people and to try and obviously structure and embody a healthy lifestyle. Not only with exercise but with nutrition as well. So yeah, in terms of my course, that my program that I'm building, it's obviously centered around uh, body weight exercises, which is my specialty as a gymnast, and with minimal equipment that you can do at home. And there's also a flexibility and a mobility aspect to it as well. But it's for me, it's not. I don't want it to just be, a program in itself. I want it to be an active lifestyle choice. So it's not just about trimming weight, losing weight, becoming leaner, more muscular, more toned, stronger, fitter. It's about undoing bad habits as well. How you spend your time between workouts, undoing periods of stagnation, which I think is a really big problem with, especially with those that sit at a desk, for example, for a long period throughout the day and don't get up and move. I think that's a real problem, and in terms of stiffness and pain and just in terms of their mobility, their overall mobility. So something that I like to do is, like every hour, if I'm at home and I'm working, like every hour I'll do like 20 push-ups. Just without thinking, I'll just get up, just get on the floor and do 20 push-ups, just to get the blood flowing, and then I'll go back to what I'm doing, or even some light stretches. And I think that's something that I want to encourage when during my program as well. So it's about creating healthy habits that you can incorporate into your daily lifestyle. Especially those who, the program will be especially for those that have really busy lives, kids, families, don't have access to a gym, or maybe they don't have time to get to the gym, or perhaps they're not comfortable with that. So the program's going to be really beneficial for them. And following on from that, once that's done, like further down the line, I would like to add in, other benefits and other services, like doing a few gymnastic related moves, building up to that, things that you can do at home. Obviously, introducing the nutrition aspect as well, especially as I'm learning more and more about that. Because the program will be, as the program's going to be, body weight, there's also a calisthenics functional training aspect to it. So if you have access to some calisthenics equipment, then it will be great to take some of those exercises into that space, and just generally developing healthy lifestyle habits. So
Yeah, that's awesome. We're going to be so we've got the community on Facebook, Health Wealth, which we're building up at the moment, and people are going to be able to access the programs in there. There's going to be stuff on diet, stuff on the workouts and exercise, and also people can interact with us and ask questions and advice and whatever they need to in there. So if you are listening to the podcast and you're not in there yet, make sure you join the Facebook community. There'll be a link in the podcast description for it. Something you mentioned there again, which was very important about making the lifestyle habits of just exercise, making it as a habit, as part of your lifestyle. And you said about when you're sat working, every now and again you just get up, do 20 push-ups. Like that, things like that make a big difference, because just if you're sat in one position for long, it's really not good for your body. And even just obviously, if someone's working in, say, a busy office, they might not want to jump up and do 20 push-ups, but they could get up and just go for a brisk walk around the office or something. But just to do some movement every now and again, so you're not just sat there for like 4 solid hours sitting there doing nothing, have lunch, and then sit another 4 hours. That things like that are important to build on top of, like you say, the program. So it's not just here's 5 exercises to do in the morning. As you say, it's trying to build a whole lifestyle of your daily routine. This is what you do: exercise in the morning, make sure you're active during the day doing this, and then this is what to eat and when and where. So more of it's like a complete lifestyle change, as opposed to like a fad thing.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're for an example that you gave, real good examples. Obviously, when you're sitting down and you're stagnant for a period of time, that weakens the certain muscles, and when you start to move again, that makes it, that affects your mobility actually, and that causes a reduction in the quality of your movement, and it perpetuates stiffness and muscle pain and just overall mobility issues that we need. That's very important, as you go through life, is to retain good mobility and good posture, so it all feeds into that. So one of the things that I'll obviously learn through gymnastics, and that I'll be, including in the program and giving more information about, and as we go in the Facebook group, as you say, is mobility. Mobility is really important. It's just slightly different from flexibility. Flexibility is more stretching the muscle out and reducing the chances of injury. But mobility is about eliminating tightness and improving range of motion and movement, so that you can unlock strength and power, levels of strength and power that you don't normally have access to. So if you improve your mobility, you can access that next level of strength in that particular muscle group. Helps to reduce strain on the muscles, the nerves, the joints, enables you to move better, just through it, because life is movement. We're moving all the time, effectively in different ways. So that all ties in. Like for example, if you put your foot on an incline with a straight leg and stretch down and try and reach your toes, you're stretching your hamstring out. So that's passive stretching. Whereas mobility is you standing up and with a straight body and actually activating those muscles and lifting your foot up off the incline and putting it back on the floor. So you're forcing your body into that range of movement, actively engaging that muscle group. And that helps to, alleviate pain and tightness. So, there's different exercises that you can do around that. Another one which I do in the morning actually is up dog presses, which is basically lying flat on the ground with your hands right round about shoulder width, and then just pushing up, your hips to the ground, pushing your shoulders back, and your chin up and your chest out, and that's really, really good for your lower back. So that's just one example of a mobility exercise which I use, which is great for not only getting the blood, wakening you up and getting your blood moving throughout your body, but also good in an actual workout schedule as well, including it in that. So mobility is a really important aspect, and we should be giving more information about that as we go.
I'm looking forward to the programs too, because I need to incorporate more of the mobility and the stretching into mine as well. But like you say,
Yeah.
that's it lines up perfectly with my whole thesis on health, is that it's all about longevity. And mobility is a key one. Like you say, like you could be, classed as fit, like you could be big and muscular and look in shape, but the way you're working out could be destroying your joints, and in 10-15 years you can hardly move, walk around, you're a mess. You want to think about how you're going to be in 20, 30, 40 years time, and mobility is a key thing to that. You want to still be mobile when you're old. I mean, how many people you could see, some people who are like 70, 80 years old, and they look and move younger than someone who's like 50, 60, because they've taken care of themselves. The other people haven't. So yeah, that is super important. That's an important one. And as I say, personally, that's something I need to incorporate more into mine. So I'll be looking forward to putting some of that into action as well. So we spoke a bit on intermittent fasting. Let's talk a bit about diet in terms of general. What
Yeah.
what's your general diet kind of based on? What would it be normally?
Yeah, so at the moment, obviously, it's the first thing is to recognise things that you want to avoid. So inflammatory foods, which cause a lot of the problems with health and with your overall health. There's a lot of things that it messes up in your body, and first of all, what you want to do is identify them and remove them. So things that are high in sugar, that have a lot of preservatives and additives added to them, things like low fat as well. What you want is actually full natural fat, because your body actually needs them. So you want to avoid those things, and obviously the majority of what I have is protein and healthy fats. Things like like for example fiber. We're always encouraged that we need fiber, but that's actually not conducive to long-term health. From what I know, fiber's not really needed at all. So mostly, most of the diet consists of protein and healthy fats. A little bit of wee bit of carbs here and there. For example, like fruit, I'll just eat as a treat, because it doesn't provide anything nutritionally for me that I don't get from red meat. So if I'm not having chocolate, I'll have a bit of fruit. Same with vegetables. Vegetables for me is making the meal a little bit more interesting. That's all. Because a vegetable, vegetables come from plants. So they actually contain toxins that aren't actually that good for you. That research that I've done. For example, when you're eating meat that comes from animals, so animals are wired to protect themselves in the wild, because they're moving and they have they have protection mechanisms built in. So that provides a lot of nutrition. When we're eating that, whereas plants are static, they have no way to defend themselves as such like animals. So instead, they have certain toxins within their properties that when you eat them, they're actually not that good for you. So this is other thing that the mainstream says you need your 5 fruits and vegetables per day. Get your 5 in per day. It's just not the truth at all. So, but yeah, I've recognised that, and I just keep that sort of the consumption of that minimal. So what I'll do is start with eggs. Eggs are a fantastic way to break a fast. Whether it's scrambled or poached. I normally just have them with either butter or beef dripping, which is a really healthy way to fry to cook your food in a pan. And 2 or 3. Sometimes I'll go 4 or 5, but normally 3 is about the sweet spot. And then I'll have like meat dish almost every day. So whether it's chicken, beef, pork, obviously steaks, all different types of steaks, red meat. That's a superfood. Plenty of protein in there. Very tasty too. So I'll have that. Lamb as well is a good choice. I've also started to, not just started, but the last sort of 4 or 5 months, I've started to eat a lot more organ meat as well. Things like liver, kidneys, and heart, which is a nutritional superpower. It really is. There's so much nutrition in that. And every time I go to the supermarket, it's always there. I seem to be the only one that's buying it. Sometimes that's how, because the stocks of organ meat are always are pretty high. So and it's quite cheap as well. So I'll just help myself to that. So there's a few different ways that I use to cook that and prepare that makes it actually quite tasty. It's really not that complicated. So organ meat's brilliant. Fish as well. Try to eat fish at least once a week. I like sea bass. Sea bass is one of my favourites. But yeah, there's many others. Even like a tin of sardines. That's huge in protein and omega-3s, and that's very cheap as well. So having that as a starter even is really good for you, and they're very affordable. And then I'll have, the majority of it will be meat based, and yeah, I'll have a bit of vegetables or maybe a few carbs, a bit of carbs on the side, like in the form of some rice maybe, now and again, and I'll try and keep the sugar consumption as low as I can. So I do like some chocolate, but I'm trying to bring that down. The good thing about that is that I only have chocolate once a day, so my sugar's only been spiked once a day, which means it's easier for the body to deal with. So I'll have that only after, I've had my healthy food as a treat. But again, I'm working on trying to bring that down and eliminate that fully. So that's sort of the general the general sort of diet that I have. Obviously, there's different ways to make things. I like using using a lot of beef mince and using a slow cooker as well, which is great, especially if you have a busy lifestyle. You can brown it in the pan for a couple of minutes and put it into the slow cooker. Make chili, even making burger patties with mince and putting cheddar cheese on top is a really healthy option. Instead of buying the ready-made burgers, that have some things in them that aren't very healthy, sugar and starch and things like that. So you want to avoid them and actually just buy a pack of mince and make burger patties in them. Use beef dripping as a much healthier alternative, and obviously contains a lot of protein. So yeah, I'll certainly be putting some food choices, some recipes out there on the group as we go ahead, to give people awareness. And yeah, it's really, actually, once you know what you're doing, it's quite simple and not too time consuming either. And obviously there's affordable ways to do it as well. Like, for example, buying a tin of anchovies or sardines, or mackerel in a tin. Very affordable, but also very healthy.
Absolutely, yeah. The last point you made about it being simple, it is. I posted, I think it was one this week. I just posted with it, just some of the shopping I got when I popped to the supermarket. And it's so simple. It's just, I only basically go to one place. There's a ton of steaks, butter, and salt, and that was it. Grocery shopping becomes so easy once you do it. It's
Yeah,
funny, with fruit and vegetables, the sort of advice they give of three to five a day. That was just invented in the 90s. It was in America. I can't remember exactly now, but it was basically food produce organizations like farmers or whatever, and they basically wanted to find a way for people to have more of their products, and so they just came up with it. There was no like nutritional science involved. They just came up and said, let's say people should eat 3 to 5 a day to make them healthy, and they'll buy more of it, and that's what they did. There's no need. I actually, like I say, same as you, I love fruit. I've always ate loads and loads of fruit. I've cut down a lot. I still eat some fruit, like you say, as kind of a treat. I've cut a lot of vegetables. I don't eat vegetables at all. They're completely gone. I don't see any benefit from them. So I'm basically just meat, butter, salt, eggs. I still eat some like natural yogurt. Sometimes I'll have it with fruit. Sometimes I'll just have the yogurt on its own. That's mostly every now and again, like you say, maybe some carbs every now and again. But I've been cutting stuff out more and more. Once you kind of realize that you don't need all that other stuff, and that the things you're eating are the best for you, you kind of feel like, what's the point? I mean, at first people kind of think, "Well, I can't possibly go without carbs, you know. But then once you start eating properly and you feel better and you realize, oh, actually, yeah, I don't need carbs. Like, a lot of people don't realize that. I actually had a conversation a little while back with someone who they had diabetes, type 1 diabetes, I think. They were basically moaning about their symptoms, and I just recommend, just said, you should really look at the carnivore diet. It's had great, it's had really good effects on people with both type 1 and type 2 diabetes. And they, as with most people, they didn't want to hear it, thought it was stupid, and was like, well, how can I if I'm not eating any glucose, then how can I take my insulin injections, and without them I'll die or something, which is really stupid thought process, because you your body makes its own glucose from fat, so you don't actually need any glucose in your diet whatsoever. So he's there
yeah,
thinking, well, if I've got no glucose, I can't inject my insulin to balance it out, and my body's going to collapse or whatever. But if you don't eat sugar, then your body makes its own glucose, just the right amount it needs, not an extra, and it, there's people who've had unbelievable results who've got diabetes. I mean, type 2 is fully cured with eating more of a carnivore meat-based diet. That's pretty simple to cure. But even type 1, people coming pretty much completely off their medication on it, which is unbelievably impressive. But yeah, people are closed-minded to a lot of things, I think, because they're just told something repeatedly in the media. As soon as you give them a different perspective, they're just, that's wrong in their head. That's wrong, and they don't really want to hear it. I don't know if you kind of have similar experience of speaking to people about stuff like that.
Yes, I mean that can be applied to, I've had that experience with um, other issues, and other sort of subjects that are happening, that are on and that are in conversation at the moment, just in terms of things that are happening in the world. But yeah, with regards to nutrition, yeah, it's programming, and that programming can take longer to undo for some than it does for others. But it's just about being open-minded and
Mm.
being open-minded and open to the prospect that there's a different way, that there's a better way than what they've been told, through school, through advertising, through peers, colleagues. I think there's a sort of there's an idea that people have that they stick by, in the sense that because they've always done it that way, then that's their way, that's the way that they are. But I think this was a quote: just because you've always done something, just because you've always done something one way, doesn't mean that way isn't really stupid. So it's about just realigning those beliefs, and taking on, being enlightened, being open to the prospect of being enlightened, and making those changes, and making those changes. Don't be afraid to make those changes, and worry about what people in their circle will think. Make them anyway. Have that strength of conviction to make them anyway. It's my journey, and I found a better way. I've found something better. If people in my circle want to continue with that, that's their choice. But I'm want to improve. I've found a better way of being, a higher way of being, and this is what I'm going to do, and have the courage to follow through with that. So I think that's the first big barrier that a lot of people need to that a lot of people need to get over. And I think once they do that and start seeing improvement, then the floodgates open. So, but yeah, like for example, like you said, the body doesn't need glucose; it can produce its own. We're told that we need to, put that in our bodies, and so there's many other examples of that. But I think it definitely comes from, I spoke about it the last time, people realigning their belief system, and then once they do that, then they can action the right plan, and make that self improvement.
I think when I spoke about it before, I've kind of said that the you just need that one thing, that one kind of light bulb moment where you realize something you've always been told is a lie. And it's often just that one thing. Once you get it, then you suddenly start to think, well, hold on, if that was a lie, what about this and this and this? And you start to look at everything and realize that actually you've been lied to about a lot of stuff. I think people need to two things that people should always do is always question where their beliefs come from. So we're constantly being brainwashed, whether it's by good influences or bad influences. We're basically being constantly brainwashed by what's around us to our thoughts and opinions. So we should question them, because a lot of people have really strong opinions on subjects that they actually have no experience in, no idea about, and they don't even know why they have that opinion, because they've just been brainwashed. So you need to question where your opinions come from, and if you're not sure where they come from or why you have them, then maybe look into it and see if that's a wrong opinion. And the second thing is always entertain the possibility that you're wrong. Like even now, obviously, I've researched all this stuff a lot, same as you, and we've looked into it, and I know that I'm right, and my belief is right on most things, but I'll still always question stuff, even though, I'm doing this in my diet. If I see something that kind of contradicts that, another opinion, I'll still look at it and entertain it, because you always should. It's that thing of self-improvement. You should always want to improve. And I think you kind of touched on it a minute ago there, saying about people kind of don't want to change. It's almost like people feel maybe like embarrassed if they were like, say they were set on one thing and then they changed. They're almost like they're embarrassed that people will be like, oh, I thought you used to be this. But that's what you should be doing, is changing. If you're the same now as you were 10 years ago, then you've done absolutely terribly for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
You want to be moving forward. If you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. There's no standing still. So yeah, I think people have got to open up their minds to the possibilities and always look to improve. And if you have that kind of mindset where you're open to maybe being wrong on stuff, and you also want to constantly improve yourself, then you're definitely going to move towards the truth and getting the best out of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely, Ryan. It's the point you made there about if certain people, if people believe something, or they're doing something a certain way, and then because you know this influence, said that was the right way to do it, or it's something that's just that's just ingrained in them. They can't actually, that's what they believe, but they don't actually excuse me, they don't actually consider the alternatives. Then they have to actually question who if they believe that something's a certain way, like for example, if it's nutrition, they have to ask, well, who actually gave me that advice? If there's a person that's like one of these, if it's like a health minister, for example, or someone, with a high profile who's giving, health advice and diet advice, and they should look at that person first. Are they actually healthy themselves? Are they in really good shape? Do they have a spring in their step? Do they have, do they look like a vibrant human with longevity and health about them? Do they actually embody what it is that they talk about, And quite a few cases, that's not the case, that they're actually not, but they're giving this advice anyway. They're not actually living it, but they're giving this advice. And people are, accepting that and going along with that. So you always have to question your influences, who was it that told you to think like that? And that's just that's the way to self-improvement as well, is to listen to people who, have actually got skin in the game, and been there and done it, or actually live it, and take the advice from them instead of someone who actually doesn't, like, as I say, taking diet advice or health advice from someone who isn't actually health themselves. It's a bit of a myth to me, or as to why people are so quick to do that as such, instead of really thinking for themselves. And I think now a lot of people just like to be told what to do, and even if it's the wrong thing, they're being told what to do, they'll just do it, instead of using a bit of critical thinking, So a bit of critical thinking can do wonders for yourself, and consider things and who you're actually listening to, and the advice that you're taking. So yeah, it's a really interesting point.
The point, especially like the point on that looking at people giving diet and nutrition advice. Like if you look at the majority of people in government who are anything to do with diet guidelines, food guidelines, health guidelines, they're always in terrible shape. There's, people taking health advice from Bill Gates, who firstly doesn't have any qualification experience. Look at him; he looks an absolute mess. He's in terrible shape. You don't want to take health and fitness advice from him just because he's made a load of money. Like you say, you want to look at people who, whatever it is that you're looking to take advice in, look at someone who's doing better than you and take advice from them. So if you want to make more money, you want to look at people who are making a lot of money and take advice from them. If you want to get fit, you want to listen to someone who's already in good shape, who's already doing it, and take advice. Like, I always laugh about, you go down to local gyms and there's like personal trainers there, and at least half of the personal trainers will be overweight.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, how am I going to take you seriously that you're going to get me in shape when you can't get yourself in shape?
Someone they don't actually think, well, what's your credentials that gives you
Mm.
the sort of the platform, or the position? What puts you in a position to actually say that? Have you done that yourself? Like you say, with some PTs, for example, some that are in great shape, others not so much. But yeah, exactly. Listening to a big figure like that, who's doesn't know much about, richest man in the world, but doesn't actually know much about health and fitness and being strong and being healthy. Being told that meat's bad, and to eat kibble and vegetables and all this nonsense. Like, it's just terrible. It's again, it's just, but there's programming everywhere, and there's influence everywhere, and people have to be more aware about who they're listening to, really. Like, if you're listening to someone who you want to get bigger and more muscular, and the guy's teaching you is big and muscular, then listen to him, because he's obviously put in the work. Okay, there's nuances, there's ways of there's approaches on how, and methods, different methods, and how they got to that level, or got to that appearance. But there's nuances everywhere. But they have that physicality, and that's what, if you're looking for physicality and they've got it, then listen to them. So people have to be aware of who they're listening to, and the influences, and do a bit of research and think for themselves now. But I think most people are just too quick to listen to someone who's got a massive profile but doesn't actually have expertise, in what they're saying, like, overweight, unhealthy looking, people with health ministers, for example, with big profiles talking about how to be healthy. It's it's not something I agree with at all. So, and it's just about raising awareness for that, for people. So,
One of the things that you mentioned there is critical thinking. That is something that, especially over the last couple of years, it's kind of shown who's a critical thinker and who's not. And that is something really important, I think, that people need to do, is to be a critical thinker. You should question everything, no matter what someone tells you, whether it agrees with your bias or whether it doesn't. Always question it, and that's going to help you to find your way to the truth. And as we said before, that's going to help you to improve yourself. If you want to improve yourself, you should be always questioning everything. Am I right in this opinion? Can I do more here? Would I be better doing that instead of this? It's just a constant journey, isn't it, really? You never stop.
absolutely, it's just taking that responsibility and self-evaluation, and I think that's an aspect that many people struggle with, is they don't want that responsibility, and they're just happy for others to make decisions on how it's best to live, what it is you should be doing, what it is you should be eating, consuming, listening to, all ties in. So I think people have to take a bit more of our responsibility and accountability, and doing a bit of research and being open-minded. And obviously the things that we're talking about is very much related to improving health and lifestyle and getting stronger and getting fitter, and it's all based on, well, personally on my experiences as a former athlete, but also as someone who's continuing to self-improve as well. And I think it's really important that we get that out there, and give people alternative ways and methods to self-improve, and let them make up their. I think I'll let them critique that and analyse that and take that on board and make better choices, instead of listening to those who, maybe perhaps have a massive profile, very mainstream, but don't necessarily have the knowledge or the know-how and in terms of giving, the best advice, really. So
yeah, I completely agree. And like you say, people aren't really willing to invest the time nowadays into looking into the health and their nutrition and things like that. So that's why we're trying to, we've spent, countless hours researching exercise and nutrition and fitness and looking into it. And we've kind of tried to bring everything together, kind of amalgamate it into one kind of easy to digest portion, which is what we're bringing into the podcast and the health wealth community, so that people don't have to spend ages looking at stuff. They can come in, we're going to be teaching the basics in small, easy to understand bits. And then we've got things like the program. As you said, people do prefer just to be told what to do, and obviously it is easier, isn't it? Even sometimes it's easier for us to say, yeah, okay, well, if you just tell me, I don't know that much in terms of the mobility and the stretching. I haven't done too much into that. I could spend some time researching it, but if you've got the experience and you can teach me the stuff, then I might as well do that. So that's kind of the service we're trying to provide to people, is that, look, what you're doing clearly isn't working. Instead of you having to spend countless hours searching around, we'll give you the right stuff. Here it is. This is what you need to do. And that's going to make you healthy. Because one of the obvious ways to know that you shouldn't go with the mainstream narrative is on diet, nutrition, and fitness is clearly not working. Look at the state of the world. The general health of the public is absolutely terrible. It's deteriorating. Diseases are massively on the rise. So clearly what you're being told is not working. So why not, try something else?
Yeah, absolutely. It's about listening to those who, actually live that and embody that lifestyle and act it out, on a daily basis. And, I think that from what I know, the knowledge that I have, I want to provide that value for people. As you say, a lot of people don't have time to research all the various different things. So the fact that we are providing that knowledge and that information, and obviously getting my program out there is gonna help people just fast track their progress and cut out a lot of the other stuff that and influences that they don't need. And yeah, in terms of getting stronger and getting fitter, getting better lifestyle, better nutrition, everything all ties in. So the program itself, my program, it's it's designed to work your overall athleticism as well. So it's not just about how you look, but it's actually making your body more efficient as well, making your mind stronger too. So that's something that I'm incorporating. And the beauty of it is that you don't need a gym or equipment really to do it. It's all minimal equipment. It's exercise mat, it's an incline, set of push-up bars, maybe some elastics, and that's it. So it's something that everyone can try. Straight away, and it's just very convenient. But looking forward to getting more of these podcasts and information out there for people, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's it. And what you were talking about there, making it accessible to people. Like you say, not everyone can get down to the gym and do whatever, but having a program based on working out at home with minimal equipment, as you said, mostly body weight, it's accessible. And they're not 2-hour workouts, short workouts at home with equipment. In terms of diet and nutrition, it's all fairly simple things to do. It's not complex. So we're just trying to make it accessible to people, to allow them to come in and to do that. And as you said as well, on the whole, not just physical, but also improving the mind, which is, interlinked with the body and with diet, as we know. So I think maybe next week, when we chat again, we'll maybe talk a bit more on kind of mindset and the mind and stuff like that, because I know you're quite into that and you've obviously got experience with that through your athletic career. So I think we'll probably pretty much wrap it up for this week. We've had some some technical difficulties, and we've still managed to cover a lot of ground. So I think we'll probably leave it there, and we'll jump into some of that stuff next time around.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it, and happy to share my some more stories from my my gymnastics career, and also to sort of illustrate these how I shaped my mind and my perspective, and the experiences I've had, how to deal with high levels of stress and pressure, and turn negatives into positives, as well. I think it's about the way that you look at things too. Don't just see the glass half empty, see the glass half full. Right, okay, here's where I am. What do I need to do? This is what I can do to improve. So, we're looking forward to chatting about that in the coming weeks.
Yeah, that's it. I think whenever you look at successful people, a lot of it all comes down to their mindset, the way they look at things, people who've overcome difficulties. So that's going to be an interesting conversation. So, we'll leave it there for now. And we'll see you next week. We'll see everyone on the podcast next week. Yeah, let's become optimal. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning into the show. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover on the podcast, or you'd like to appear on it, then please contact us at hwpoduk@gmail.com, on our website, which is healthwealthuk.com, or on any of our social medias, which are at hwpoduk. Please make sure you like, subscribe, share it with all your friends and family, and we will see you next week.